Conversations with Nicole. Let's talk about it. Tell me all about it. I'm here. I wanna know what's on your mind. Ooh, the world needs to hear from you, and I'm so glad to have a conversation to reach the nation. And it's all about you. We'll help each other to discover innovative ways to positively change the world. Let's talk about, let's talk about, let's talk about conversations with Nicole.
Greetings. Welcome to Conversations with Nicole. I am Nicole Everett, your host, and Conversations with Nicole is a talk show based in Tallahassee, Florida, focused on connecting the community through conversations. And today is what I call Mindset Monday, which is an opportunity for you, me, and my guests to chat about something interesting and intriguing. And today we are talking about how and why food connects us. How and why food connects us. And my very special guest is Dr. Jenelle Robinson, who is a personal friend of mine. She was actually on season 2 of Conversations with Nicole, the pre-recorded show, as an education, or maybe it was a health segment. But at any rate, I'm so excited to have her on as a full featured guest tonight. The whole hour is just going to be me, she, and you. But before I bring her on, I need to hear from you. Where are you tuning in from? We are live on Facebook, on YouTube, and on LinkedIn. Your comments and questions are welcome. So if you will, put your city and state in the comments so we can give you a shout out. This is an interactive live. And your comments are also welcome as we talk about how and why food connects us. So I see Miss Brittany is here from Tallahassee. Thank you for being here. And Miss Jeanette down in Miami Gardens. Thank you for joining us, Miss Jeanette. Oh, I was in Miami Gardens this weekend for Jazz in the Gardens, and it was absolutely wonderful. My dad's birthday is tomorrow, so happy birthday, Dad. I know, although I know you will not see this, but still sending you a shout out anyway. We had a great time celebrating, and we got to hear some great music and just have a good time. Enjoy life, right? That's what food is all about too, is enjoying life in a great plate. All right, so we got Ava Joy Burnett in DC. I was actually on a virtual show that she and Dr. Jenelle did not long ago. So thank you for joining us. All right, we got Smiley Ann in Houston. Boy, Texas is showing up tonight. Dwayne Bradley. Hey, Dwayne, thank you for joining us. Kelly in Houston, thank you. Joy in Mableton, thank you. Sonya in Tally, that is Lux Catering. Thank you for joining us. Mom and Kai down in Miami, thank you for joining us. And Khalil, oh hey Khalil and Cairo, thank you for joining us. And Renetta in Memphis, wonderful. So I love all the variety, all the folks chiming in from all over the place. So tag a friend, let them know they need to be on here because this is going to be a great conversation. And again, your comments, your questions are very much so welcome. So let me share some of Dr. Janelle's bio. Dr. Jenelle Robinson is a scholar, educator, and artist. Speaking of artists, she created these lovely earrings that I'm wearing. She is an advocate for improving the health of communities of color. Dr. Jenelle has committed to teaching, research, and service projects that promote experiential learning, leadership, and the utilization of the performing arts in health and nutrition education pedagogy to reach underserved ethnic communities. She possesses a PhD in nutrition, an MA in dietetics, a BS in health education, and certifications in health education, life coaching, and African diaspora studies. She is currently an associate professor of nutrition at Prairie View A&M University. Y'all help me welcome Dr. Jenelle Robinson.
Hello, hello.
Hello. Welcome, my friend.
Thank you.
Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me, Nicole.
My pleasure. So tell the people, Dr. Jenelle, who is Dr. Jenelle Robinson? Not what you do, but who are you in your own words?
Who am I? Oh, that's a wonderful question. I am a daughter. I am a friend. I am a sister. I am a niece. I have to shout out because my Aunt Dorothy is here too, so I have to say I'm a niece. I'm a cousin. And I say these things because I think that my relationships with people matter to me. So I want to be known for the relationships I have with people. Who am I? I am an educator who is passionate about empowering people, especially people of color, when it comes to nutrition, when it comes to the performing arts. Um, yeah, that's pretty much who I am. I'm a child of God. That's pretty much who I am, Nicole. I'm your
Wonderful.
friend.
You are my friend. You are my friend. I'm
I
very,
am your friend. I'm
you
not
are.
a singer, but I am your friend.
You are. Yes. So, quick story to the viewers. Dr. Janelle, Nicole, and I met at Black on Black Rhyme when it was at Nefertari's. Keith Rogers, shout out to Keith Rogers, said, "Hey, y'all need to know each other." And
Mhm.
so the rest is history. We met that night, exchanged numbers, actually met up at, I think it was the Wharf or somewhere.
Or mhm.
Yeah, the Wharf. Right during Hurricane Hermine, like Hermine was about to hit like the next day.
Mhm.
And this was Janelle's first time in the midst of a hurricane. So she was like, what do I need to do? I don't know. I don't know what the protocol is, but help me out. So, but yeah, we've been down like two flats since then. So yeah, I appreciate you. All right. So, nutritionists, please tell us how and why food connects us. I know you have a class that you are teaching currently, and you and I talked about food stories is
Mhm.
some of the work that you are doing. So maybe we can get the viewers involved in this conversation. So what do we want,
So
we want to know from them?
okay. So our topic today is how and why food connects us.
Yes.
And this is important to me because I'm a nutrition professor at Prairie View A&M University, as Nicole said. And one of the things that I do in every class I have is I give the students an opportunity to tell their food stories, and I tell my food stories. And so I've shared with Nicole and I shared with my students about this word that you may or may not have heard called nutritionism. And I'm going to call it the doctrine of nutritionism is when we only focus on the nutrients. We're only focusing on what we can get from food, okay, what our body can get from food. But food is so much more than what our body can get from food. Food is family. Food is love. Food is justice. Like there's so many things that are interconnected with food. And so my goal is to get us to tell our stories. I told Nicole that we promote in the classroom and outside the classroom the dietary guidelines for Americans, which are recommendations of how we should be eating. We promote My Plate, which tells us, portion sizes of how many, ounces of meat, how many ounces of bread, how many cups of fruits and vegetables.
Right.
We promote these things, and we've been promoting them for years with little changes or little changes that are sustainable. And so for me, my goal in my research, my goal in teaching is to say, wait, let's take a step back, because there's a reason that African Americans especially are not adhering to these guidelines. There's a reason. And I think in order for me to learn more about what that reason is, I have to step back and start listening and start hearing the stories and ask, my family members and my friends about how food, what their relationship with food is like. Give me a food story. Tell me some things about food. So I have in my classes, especially when I taught the basic nutrition class, I have them journal, and I have them journal. Tell me about food at a recent event that you went to. Tell me about food growing up. Tell me about a story about how maybe food helped to heal you in some way. Tell me about food as medicine in some way. Tell me about food surrounding certain holidays. And so we
Mhm.
start having these conversations, and you learn that food is more connected to us than just as nutrients in the body. It plays a role in so many different things. I'm at home right now in Arkansas, and I came home for a funeral. And so we had a couple of ladies from the church that came to the house, and they brought food.
Mhm.
And I just sat there and I watched them set up the food. And I remember one of them said, "Do you want me to fix you something? Do you want me to serve you something?" And
Mm.
at that moment, it was not about, let me make sure you get certain nutrients. It was
Right.
about, you need to be loved on right now. You all are grieving right now. And so we are loving on you through this
Mhm.
food. So it's so many other ways that food plays a part. And I feel like we need to investigate that. We need to experience that. We need to incorporate that into our curriculum, into our guidelines, into our policy. And we can't do that until we start asking these questions and getting these stories from people.
Love all of that. So I got a question for the viewers, but before I do, and that's just based on what you just said, I want to acknowledge a few folks. We got Marcus Boston with us in Tampa, Sharice Du Bois in Atlanta, Steph is on with us here in Tallahassee, Dr. Asha in the Bay Area of Cali. She said, "Hey, Dr. J and birthday twin. Thank you for joining us, Dr. Asha." And DB, good evening. Wonderful. So, my question to the viewers is what does food mean to you? I'm not going to ask you your food story, but I want you to be thinking about your food story during this hour that we have together. But tell me in a word or two or a sentence, what does food mean to you? Based on what Dr. J just said, what does food mean to you? If you don't mind sharing in the comments, safe space, no judgment, just let us know. What does it mean to you? Whew, I consider myself a little bit of a foodie of sorts. I mean, I really do like quality food. I settle for not so great food from time to time, but I really enjoy it when I have quality food.
Mm-hmm.
So food to me is healing. It
Mm-hmm.
is it brings me joy. It is, as Renetta said, comfort. Yes, I feel like it is comfort as well. So I agree with that. And I also believe it's love. Like I feel like I can feel when somebody puts some love in that food.
Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
Food is art as well. I have a friend who, you remember, Shantae. Shantae would make food, and then before you could eat it, it was like, wait. Let me garnish it. Let me make sure it looks good on the plate. So there's an artistic perspective as well. When it looks good, I think you can enjoy it a little bit better when it looks good as well. So.
Nice. So enjoyment, health, and thriving. Break from the day's activities. All right. Mac and cheese is a love language, Dr. I said. Food means passing down traditions and love, and food is sharing experiences. Yes.
Mhm.
Food is love and gratitude. Love it. Dr. Kerrigan. Do you know Dr. Kerrigan?
Yes, that's one of my
Okay.
good friends in Arkansas. Yes.
Wonderful. Thank you for being here. All right. Sonia, who is a chef, she says, heart, food is heart. Love it. Kelly, food means resilience, identity, and unity of bridging the past and present through flavors, techniques, and cultural
Come
traditions.
on,
Yes.
Kelly.
Come on.
That's Trinidad there. That's Trinidad, Kelly.
Okay. Having certain foods makes me smile, especially when it's a favorite dish by someone special. Love it.
Mhm,
Sonya honors our ancestors.
mhm.
Yes, all of that. So thank you all for sharing. Very good. All right. So, Dr. Janelle, where we want to go from here?
Where do you want to take us?
I just want to talk about like some of the things that maybe we have kind of overlooked as it relates to food. I mean, folks have been saying all sorts of things. My mom
Mhm,
just said family and fun,
mhm,
but what about maybe some of those recipes, some of those favorite dishes, like Marcus mentioned?
Yeah.
Um, yeah, what about that? Like, should
Mhm.
we be collecting these recipes? Should we be collecting stories that go along with the recipes, maybe?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think we've talked before about this idea of passing down recipes, but most of our family members, our ancestors, they cooked by the spirit. So it's not a, let me put a teaspoon of this, a tablespoon, a half a cup of this. They just knew. I watched my my grandmother Robinson when I grew up. I watched her in the kitchen, and she just knew. I don't know if, I mean, I know there were recipes and whatnot used, but I think it probably was difficult for a lot of people to construct something to pass down, because it's not just the cup or the teaspoon, it's the tasting in between, it's
Yeah.
it's the mixing a certain way, it is the heat, so that when it comes out, it's hot like it's supposed to be, so everything is heat. It's so many different things that go on as a part of it. But I think right now, younger generations need to be in the kitchen. They need to be in the kitchen
Mm,
talking to their mother, their grandmother,
mhm.
even their father. My dad did a lot of the cooking in our house. My mom cooked, of course, as well, but my dad did a lot of the cooking in the house. And so he wasn't quite my grandma. He didn't quite have the cooking like my grandma Robinson, but it was, it had its flavor. It had its own flavor that had like a touch of her in it. And
Yeah.
so, yeah, so I've gotten a lot of even the recipes I got. It's just, just watching, just looking at my mom make, spaghetti or mac and cheese. And then I often tell her that I like to dress it up. So whatever she gives me, I take it, and I kind of, and when I say I make it better, but I try to make it my own, which I think is something we still need to be okay with. And that is, we can preserve things that are passed down and at the same time make them our own.
Yeah.
Recipes, I think they have the potential to die when we don't put a part of our identity in them.
I love
We don't
that.
connect our identity to them. So it's okay to preserve and say, this is the traditional way this is done. I added a little,
Mhm.
whatever that is, that's a part of you. You add a little bit of that. But I do think it is really important for us to start documenting. When we look at our ancestors, when we look at a lot of things in our communities, when things were passed down, they were passed down verbally.
Right.
You didn't have a lot of, paper that was being passed down.
Mhm.
Now, in research, we always say, if it's not on paper, it didn't happen.
Mhm.
And I know they're trying to branch out to say, hey, no, there are other ways to document research besides paper. But
Yeah.
I also think that we do need to preserve these recipes. We do need to sit down and play with them and preserve them, so that they don't get lost or they don't die, so that we can continue to pass them down.
Absolutely. So we have several people who have chimed in. Miss Tracy Gole has joined us. She said family traditions, fond memories of ancestors. Dr. Asha said, tell the elders to give us the peach cobbler recipe. Okay, we need it. Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Uh, Natalia, thank you for being here. She said, cooking is when my intuition speaks the loudest or I hear it the clearest. Love that. Love it, love it, love it. Thank you for being here, Tally. Dr. Gian Jones is with us. Hey, goddess, thank you for joining us. She said, food is a way for me to connect with myself. My food choices provide me with insight of how I am emoting,
Mhm.
functioning, existing.
Mhm.
Knowing this connects me to those around me. Yes.
Mhm.
Love it. Karen, she said, food to me is a reminder. My mom passed away over 30 years ago. And when I make certain foods, it reminds me of her. Beautiful.
Yeah, I love that. It's a quick story. And Joy is on. Joy, I always tell this story to my classes, and she told me this story. And I enjoy, if I get the story wrong, please correct me. But she told this beautiful story. So when I go to Atlanta and visit Joy, Joy likes to go to Publix and get this fried chicken from Publix. And I know a lot of people, you love the fried chicken from Publix. So she goes to Publix, gets this fried chicken. And one day she said to me, "Do you know why I get this fried chicken?" And I was like, "No, why do you get this fried chicken?" And she told me the story about her mom, who kind of introduced them to from South Carolina, who would come to Atlanta and introduce this fried chicken, Publix fried chicken. And so when she has this fried chicken, and her mom has passed away, but when she has this fried chicken, it's nostalgia. It reminds her of her mom. There's a connection there. So it's not just stop eating that fattening fried chicken. So for me, it's like, well, no, there's more to the fried chicken for her than just some fattening fried chicken. There's nostalgia there. And I think it's okay when I'm not a person that's going to tell you there's good and bad foods. I'm going to tell you there's foods you should eat a little bit more of and foods that you should eat a lot less of. Okay. But even in my classes, especially my food and culture class, we have an assignment where I have them take pictures of food. Okay, so they're taking pictures of meals and they bring it to class, these pictures, and we look at the pictures and I say, hey, how do we still preserve the cultural significance of this meal while nutritionally enhancing it? So what can we do to nutritionally enhance this meal? We don't want to take anything away. We're not taking anything away. We want to enhance it, because especially when we're dealing with a lot of older people. I'll say my dad, for instance. It is very difficult to get him to change his behavior.
Right.
Very difficult for a lot of your older people to change. And so my goal is not stop eating that. It's okay. You're gonna eat that. I'm not happy about, the way I feel like you might be over consuming certain things.
Right.
But can I get you to eat a little bit more of this? For my mom and dad, it's like, can I get you to drink a little bit more water?
Right.
Can I get you a little bit more water? Okay.
Right.
Can you do another bottle? So it's more so, what can I get you to do more of versus trying to spend all of my efforts toward eliminating bad habits. Clearly, we've been trying to do that for so many years. I'm saying just all across the country, we're telling people stop, and they're not stopping. So I think right now it should be okay. Let me listen to you, and then let's focus on what can we do more of. Okay, I'll let you have that. That's important to you. I'll let you have it. Okay. So what things can we do more of that are beneficial to your body, that are going to be helpful for you?
Absolutely. So Janae said my grandma is eating Publix fried chicken right now.
Right now.
Okay. All right. Let's see. We got Keisha Washington, who has joined us here in Tallahassee. Thank you for being here. And Gian said my food choices provide me. Oh shit, we already read that one. Okay. Dr. Asha, I think food is also a way to be invited into someone else's home or culture. Example, I have patients who will bring me food from their home, country, or cultural dishes. I love that. Yeah, I think that is definitely a way to kind of experience maybe what they have grown up on or what's been a tradition in their home. So yeah. Dr. Oh, Katie Story. She said, food is energy. Yes, it is. And Miss Donda just joined us, who's also here in Tallahassee. Thank you for being here, Donda. So, woo, that's a lot. So as you were stating, like food can kind of take us back to a particular person or even a particular time or experience, right? So it's part of the stories of our life.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, it's integrated into everything in our lives. So I was watching something on social media recently, and this lady was talking about food is just, it's just food. That's just all it is. It's stuff. It's whatever's going to be put in your body to help you live and to help you thrive. And I'm like, okay, yeah. That is the sentiment, especially you might get from some personal trainers, you might get from some people in the field of nutrition. And I'm like, no. I want you to enjoy your food. I want you to like looking at your food. I want you to, I want you to experience your food. And to me, that is all a part of nutrition. It's not just the nutrients. Like I said, it's about, loving the food that you're eating, enjoying it as well. And when you enjoy it, you're more likely to share it. When I was, my story is when I was a little girl, I say a little girl, between 10 to 12 years old, I had, body image issues. I say I was the fat kid and used some unhealthy means to try to lose weight. But which is it's a whole nother issue when we talk about food and our relationships with food, and positive and negative relationships with food. But throughout that, struggle, I learned more about my relationship with food. I learned more about um, even how to connect other people when it came to food. But that's the story I always start with. I always start with telling people about how the poor relationship that I had with food. I say as a young child,
Yeah.
dealing with body image issues. So
Yeah. But all part of the story, right?
all part of the story. Yeah, it's
Mm-hmm.
all part of the story. So um,
So we got a few more comments. Keisha said food should be something yummy for your tummy. Okay. That sounds like something one of my little nephews would say. We got Seta on. Thank you for being here. She said food is life. All right. We got Miss Talithia here. Hey y'all. She said, hey Talithia. Talithia, tell us what food is to you. Define it for us quickly. Few words, just a sentence. Marcus said, unfortunately for me, every barbecue holiday is a reminder of my sister's passing. She cooked it to perfection every time. No one barbecues like her in our family. So I have some real stories around that as well, in terms of Marcus, my aunt, my dad's older sister. She was the sweet potato jack lady. And nobody could get that crust as thin as she could. Me and my cousin Erica have tried to replicate it, and I think Erica has probably gotten way closer than I probably ever will. But she gave us a lesson too. I mean, rolling out that dough, no measuring cups. I mean, to perfection. She did it every time. Okay. And I remember when she passed, we were at her house. I had pulled up to her house, and there was a man across the street in a car, and I was getting out, and he hollered out, "Is that the house for the sweet potato jack lady?" And I said, "Yes, sir." And he said, "She made jacks better than my mama." So yes, I understand that though, Marcus. I really do. All right, we got a few more folks that have joined us, and Miss Squeaky has tuned in. Thank you for being here. And Talithia said, "My relationship with food is rocky, anxiety." So I'm glad that you mentioned that, Talithia. Because everybody has kind of been speaking more kind of warm and fuzzy, but um it can be that as well, especially there's if you feel pressure to eat some food that maybe you're not comfortable with, or you have a sensory issue with texture, or something like that. So you want to talk a little bit about that, Dr. Jenelle?
about food as anxiety,
Mhm,
or food being connected to anxiety.
mhm,
I would love to hear a little bit more about the anxiety perspective for Talithia. But I think when I think of food being connected to anxiety, for me, I food is connected to anxiety for me because I have this overwhelming fear of getting back to that place where I'm the little fat girl and I'm getting made fun of
mhm,
regularly.
mhm,
And so for me, my mom is like, "You're always on a diet. Like when do you stop?" And I had told her at one point, "Well, this is just a lifestyle." But at some point I said, "No, no, no. This is literally what you keep doing because you have this fear that
mhm,
you are going to be this little fat girl again and you're going to be made fun of." And
mhm,
so you have anxiety when you get on this scale and a pound goes up, another pound goes up, then it might go down, and you have anxiety. I mean, when I was a little girl, I remember when I was 10 or 11, and I remember I used to get on the scale every day. And I remember if that scale didn't go down, I was upset. I had a lot of anxiety. And I remember one time I jumped up and down on the scale and broke the scale because I was so mad because it wasn't going down fast enough. So for a
gotcha.
lot of people, they make that connection of, how much food they're eating or what types of food they're eating that is contributing to a certain amount of weight on the body.
Mhm.
And that can cause a certain level of anxiety. Either, it can cause the anxiety because you're gaining too much or because you're losing too much too fast. And
Mhm.
so, so that there can be a strong connection there. And I think it takes time to kind of repair that connection, because even for me, I think I still struggle. I still struggle with that when it comes to food, and the decisions I make when it comes to food. And so, and I think therapy helps with that. I think therapy helps with that.
Absolutely.
But also a lot of self-talk. I learned
Yeah.
from Dr. Jones, a lot of self-talk to myself, to my body,
Mhm.
and then having a supportive community around me, so that if I am, it does look like I have a destructive relationship with food, I can, we can try to fix that. We can try to work on that. So,
Absolutely. Absolutely. So we are about halfway through our talk. So for those who are just tuning in, I'm on with Dr. Jenelle Nicole Robinson, and we are talking about how and why food connects us. How and why food connects us. We've talked about food stories. We've talked about collecting the recipes of our ancestors and those family friends even that we enjoy some of the dishes that they have made, as well as some memories maybe of those loved ones that have gone on, that it can be sad sometimes when we smell the food, taste the food that reminds us of them, but hopefully we can also reflect on the good times as well. All
mhm.
right. So Talithia said Nicole knows much of my story, much about my story, my story about food. I welcome her to share. So I will share a little bit, but I do want to share Seta's comment, which is it is connected to memories as well. So many dishes remind us of our past with family and friends. Smells, tastes, textures give us either good or bad memories. Indeed. And she further said, I agree. Healing ourselves around the issues of food is a process. When we view it in a healthy way, it can change the way we approach it. And I absolutely agree with that. So to me, that's part of like a deprogramming and a reprogramming that we get to do around food, right?
Mhm.
I think you are a great example of that, Dr. Janelle, because you have, while you have you talk about really, really liking cake, right? But you have chosen maybe like the vegan cake instead, like trying, some other types of cake that are more healthy, right?
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I mean, I had a couple slices while I've been here. They weren't vegan, but in total though, like if I'm choosing cake, my goal is to choose something that doesn't have dairy, because I don't do dairy, so I don't eat cheese.
Mhm.
I don't drink milk, or cow's milk. And so that's the goal. But me and Dr. Asha, we share this love
Listen,
of, you
look,
see
look,
that
look,
we
look,
share
look,
this
look,
love
look,
of
look,
cupcakes,
look.
and put a six pack in front of me. So I know I have no self control when it comes to it, and so I don't buy it, or keep it in my house. Let me say that I don't keep it in my house. So you have to know yourself, and that's the conclusion I came to. I can sit here and try to tell you, hey, you can be strong. You got this cake in front of you, have these cupcakes, you can be strong. And for me, it can be like a drug. And so no, no, no. Let's just take that out of your environment. Some
For
things you just
failure.
have to take out of your environment. And that's again
Mhm.
not to say that I don't eat cake, because I do. I do have my fair share. But I just don't put it in my environment, because I know I have a tendency to overconsume when I have it in my environment regularly. So that's always the goal for me. Get it out of my environment. I got people, family and friends who'll say, you waste a lot of food. And they're saying that in reference usually to sweets, because in an attempt to not overconsume, I'll bite a piece of cupcake and then I throw it away, because the goal is, and I bite another one and I throw it away, because I'm like, the goal is not to eat all six of these cupcakes. So I know I have an issue. I know I have an issue. And I have to manage it the best way for me. And each person, has a different way of managing those things that they might feel are, foods that are strongholds for them. They have that they might have a problem with. So.
Absolutely. I should have heard that before I ate that whole box of Girl Scout cookies on the way home today from Miami. But anyway, Ozzy has joined us. Thank you for being here, Ozzy. And Keisha said the scales at my house move from one room, from room to room when they hear me coming or hide. One hid under my bed, so I couldn't reach it. True story.
Yeah.
I'm
And
not.
that's interesting because I think too, we have to get away from, including myself, get away from just using the scale as a measure of progress and a measure of defeat. Like there's so many other things that you can celebrate as well. Of course, it is one measure. But I tell people when we look at our health measures, if you're trying to see, am I where I need to be? The scale is not the only place you're looking. You're looking at your labs. You're looking at your glucose levels. You're looking at your blood pressure. You're looking at your cholesterol. You're looking at your waist circumference. So for women, we don't want to be over 35. For men, we don't want to be over 40. And we want to avoid having a lot of that fat that's close to our vital organs. And so the goal is to have more of the pear shape than the apple shape. So that's what we're going towards. But I always tell people, love your body where it is at while you're working on where you want it to be. And that's okay. We still have to, this is what you got to work with. And all of our bodies are on a journey, they're on a journey. And so you may need a little bit more weight for this part of your journey. And that's okay. If all your labs are in order, that's okay. You need a little bit more weight for this part of your journey. And sometimes you need a little less. And only if you might need a little bit more or a little bit less at those times. So
anyway, I'm gonna leave that alone. But look at here.
yeah.
Marcus, Girl Scout cookies, Thin Mints, baby. And
Yeah.
Asha, not the Samoas. It was the Samoas, the whole box, and the Thin Mints. Send help, she said.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. I was recently at Kroger and there were Girl Scouts outside of Kroger. And I said, you all are trouble. I looked at them and I said, you all are trouble. And then I went around the corner and I was attempting to buy. And in my head, I said, I'm not going to take the cookies. I'm going to tell them to pay it forward to someone else.
Yeah.
But they didn't have the I had my phone for tap to pay, and they didn't have tap to pay, so I couldn't get the cookies. So I was like, I guess it wasn't meant for me to pay it forward in that way to someone else. But yeah, they are trouble. They are trouble.
They are.
They mean well.
They do.
They're trouble.
All right. Mom said, I saw how my family members suffered with being overweight and illnesses, so I limit myself to live longer and healthier. And she does. She
And
is
she looks great. I
well.
saw her shaking it with a little stomach out. I saw her and Jazz in the garden. I saw you. I saw you.
I know she is tickled right now with you
I
saying
know. Yes. Yes.
yes, but she does. So yeah, I mean, especially if you have a family history of, certain ailments, you definitely want to consider all of that when you are
Yeah.
consuming.
Yeah.
So Cherie said we can always have vegan cupcakes, right?
Yeah, and they can be amazing as well. I've made them myself, and a few vegan restaurants that have these amazing desserts as well. But it's always about the other part is it is always also about how much of it. Nobody becomes, your mom was talking about being overweight. We talk about being obese. We talk about dealing with these different issues. Nobody gets high blood pressure or diabetes or because they had one cupcake this week and then another one 2 weeks from now.
Right.
They don't get, that's not what happens. It's because you eat things that are high in fat, sugar, or sodium regularly. You have created a pattern of overeating. You have created a pattern of eating too much fat, too much sugar, too much sodium, and too many calories in general on a regular basis.
Yeah.
And so that's when the changes have to be made, when you start to suffer because of that. But nobody got high cholesterol because they had a slice of bacon. I mean, that's just not the way The body is an amazing machine that God has made, and so we're able to filter out a lot of things. We're able to release a lot of things. You have your own. People always talk about, oh, I need to do a detox. Okay, do your little detox, but you do know you have liver, you have kidneys. These things do a really good job of detoxifying the body. But when you overdo it, when there is a pattern of eating things that are too high in fat, sugar, sodium, too many calories, then you are making the system work harder than it was designed to work. And that's when you start to have those breakdowns. That's when the disease and illness is more likely to come. And so you just have to, you have to make every day, you have to make smart decisions
Yeah.
every day.
It's a
Every day.
choice. It's a choice. Dr. Ashton said, I think food can also be a form of self-assessment. Am I feeding myself adequately or am I missing meals? What has me too busy or mentally consumed in this season that I am not feeding myself well?
That's good.
Mm-hmm.
That is good. And I know people who say, excuse me, they'll get to the end of the day and say, did I eat today? No, that's not my issue. That's never been my issue. If I'm gonna do one thing, I'm gonna eat.
Don't eat, right?
I have an app in my phone, and the night before, I'm planning my meals, and so I'm gonna make sure I get in what I need to get in. But I know there are people who are so consumed with other things that they might forget to eat, or they don't eat enough because their mind is so consumed with other things. So it definitely can be a form of or a trigger to assess, hey, what has my emotions or my mind so tied up that I'm not able to nourish my body the way it needs to be nourished on a daily basis, which could be detrimental, if you do that regularly. So
absolutely. All right. Mr. Oliver said food is wellness and I love cooking it. Okay, wonderful. Wonderful. All right. So Dr. Asha said my forever takeaway from one of Dr. Jenelle's workshop is to get your blood analyzed and supplements specific to what your body is needing. My whole everything feels and functions better. Thank you.
yeah,
Love
it
it.
is a customized process. I think, we do get general recommendations
Mhm.
that are designed to help generally, just the normal person in the population. And that's great. But then there are sometimes where, you need a little bit more. You might need a little bit more zinc. You might need a little bit more iron. There are specific needs that are, designed for each person. And that's why it's important for you to get those labs done regularly as well, so that you can have those conversations with your doctor, and possibly if you have a dietitian, with your dietitian as well. So
Nice. All right. Yeah. Seta said it's a balance. And Donda said foods are very different now in the way they are processed and grown for mass production.
they are. They are. And I'll say concerning that, there is little we can do on a um there are things that we can do, of course, to deal with this, but right now we have to deal with what we have. Okay, so when I talk to people, if they're living in areas that are food deserts or food swamp, the food swamp is an area that's inundated with fast food restaurants. Okay, food desert, there's no fresh fruits and vegetables readily available around you.
Mhm.
And so when we talk about those things, it's hard for me to talk to someone and say, you should be eating mostly fruits, vegetables. You should be eating, if they don't have access to those things. So
Mhm.
what I like to do is, while we are working on getting them access, I'm
Mhm.
teaching you how to eat from the gas station, if that's what you have access to. I'm teaching you how to eat from the dollar store, if
Yeah,
that's what you have access to, because while you're working on getting them there, they still got to eat.
they
They
still got
still
to
have to
eat.
eat. So I'm working on helping you make the best decisions at McDonald's, at Wendy's, at Burger King, if
Mhm.
that's what you have access to.
Right.
That's what we're doing. And so the goal is, okay, can we make good decisions or better decisions, or the best, based on the environment based on what we have access to, while
Right.
there are organizations and individuals and groups and communities that are working on getting us access to better options. Still
Mhm.
got to eat.
You
So
still got to eat. Yes. All right. Let's see. I tell my clients negative self-talk fuels anxious control. Ooh, that's powerful. Positive self-talk builds healthy control and body acceptance. Come on. Yes, love it.
Absolutely.
All right. Kelly, how do you think the forced displacement and adaptation of foodways during the transatlantic slave trade shaped Black culture's relationship with food, from survival and resistance to cultural identity
Oh,
and
geez.
modern food justice movements? Listen,
Baby, Kelly's gonna give it to you.
she about to give it all
Kelly
away.
is
She
Kelly said,
the show.
Kelly said, I need you to bring out your dissertation because this is
Yes.
all in my dissertation. She's
All of
like,
it.
bring
Come
out your
on,
dissertation
bring
and
it.
let's talk
Bring
about
it, Dr. Robinson.
let's
Come
talk
on.
about this.
Listen.
So first I would say to Kelly, but as well as to everybody, I'd say please, when you get an opportunity, go to Netflix and watch High on the Hog, because I think High on the Hog does a good job of highlighting some of the food ways that we are familiar with, and some of the food ways, prior to the slave trade, and how that cuisine was transferred to America and transformed a lot of our food that we eat today.
Nice.
But I do think when we talk about displacement, adaptation of food ways, you're talking about slaves being given certain foods. So you talk about some of the discarded parts of the pig. I know there are people who love chitlins. I have never eaten chitlins in all my life. The smell alone, I can't do it. But I do think that one of the beautiful things I think is that Black people took food and they took the worst of what they were given and made the best of it. And they made it taste good. They seasoned it well and they put love into it. And so I think that because of that, again, it's going back to food is not just food is survival. Food is not just food is part of our history. When you even think about the transatlantic slave trade, they're bringing slaves here to do what? We're talking about sugar plantations. We're talking about, like, they're bringing them to the Caribbean, to the United States, to South America. They're bringing them. We're talking about spices. This is part of what it was. I mean, this is a large part of what it was about. Is sugar, is salt. These things, and so. Kelly, it's such a loaded question. I'm like, I really feel like I need to pull out my dissertation and start quoting some things and highlighting things, but it's a lot that's intermingled in it. I think our relationship with food, I grew up in a household where it was like, eat everything off of your plate. And we were told, and I know a lot of friends' household, they were told it's Africans, it's folks in Africa and
They was
they don't
starving.
have food, and which is a poor narrative, let me say, by the way, that the media put out there to make you feel like, that, Africa is always associated with being malnourished. And that is not the case. Africa is a whole continent. So for us to equate malnourishment with the whole continent is ridiculous. And as you and I saw when we went to Ghana, just the country, just Ghana, there's a plethora of food, different socioeconomic statuses, different types, it's very diverse. Just in that one country. So I think, part of what I do as well is I get food stories from people from the different areas, different regions of Africa to see the compare and analyze, hey, how our food is alike, how it is very similar, how that food transitioned to be what we eat as well. And so I think we have to, one of my things is let's change the narrative on Africa, and let's change the narrative when it comes to our food as well. I don't know if Ashley is on here. There's a young lady, Ashley Carter, and she has a friend as well, and they work with this group called Eat Well Exchange. And I think the motto is our foods are healthy. And so they highlight on social media food from all across the world, especially the diaspora, and show you that these foods are healthy. And so for so long, it's like, don't eat certain ethnic foods because they're not healthy, but they make it a point to show you that there are fruits and vegetables and all of these things within our different cultures, and they should be appreciated and celebrated, even if sometimes we put a little bit too much salt on them. Okay, we can work with that. That's still something to work with, even if they got a little pork in them. Okay, they eating
Mhm.
vegetables. We can work with it. We can work with it. So, but yeah, back to Kelly's thing. Yeah,
Mhm.
I think it's a lot that goes into the decisions that we make, going back to eat everything off of your plate to now we say, it's okay if you don't eat everything off of your plate, save a little bit for later. It's okay. That for me, that's what I say. Hey, if you can't eat everything, that's okay. Let's put it in the refrigerator and save it for later.
Yeah.
And okay. So
So the second part of her question is around modern food justice movements.
modern food justice movements.
Right, because
So
she's talking about, uh, how do you think the forced displacement I see it as, kinda back then in terms
mhm,
of what we had to do to survive,
mhm,
um, and resistance to, like, as she says, cultural identity
mhm,
and modern food justice movement. So I wanted you, if you could, just kind of maybe briefly touch on the food justice movement piece, because I guess I see that with some of what we're seeing with Black farmers, with some of the genetically modified food,
mhm,
um and so yeah, I garden,
mhm,
not as much as I used to, but I'm a big proponent of gardening. Seta is on here, and she is fighting for Black farmers in this
mhm.
area here in Tallahassee. And so what are any thoughts around some of that as it relates to this modern food justice movement?
So there are a lot of people that are working in communities to, when we talk about food justice, we're looking at food insecurity or food insecurity, food security. So being food insecure,
Mm,
you don't have regular nutritious meals available to you regularly.
right.
It's a broader definition, but I'm just giving you a simple way to define it. But you don't have access to healthy food regularly. And
Mhm.
so when we talk about food justice, that's part of it. Um, there are so many different initiatives that you'll see with food justice movements. One of the biggest things you see is this push to have community gardens,
Mhm.
this push to have us grow our own food.
Mhm.
And I will tell you, for me, I do not have a green thumb at all. At all. My dad he has a small garden, and I love that. I love that. And I see so many people, you have a small garden. And I
Mhm.
do think that we need to get back to teaching people. To me, that is a form of food justice, is teaching people how to grow their own
Mm,
food. Teaching people, even if it's just, hey, okay, so I'm gonna grow the cucumbers, you're gonna grow this, and then having community sharing of that food.
yeah.
Okay, especially with everything that's going on now, I think it's really important for us to, as communities, to really be proactive
Mm,
about growing our own food. Just think, it starts with a seed. It just starts with a seed. It's very low cost, of course. And so that's a large part of different initiatives that you see with the food justice movement. For me, I wrote a paper when I was in my African Diaspora Studies program about food justice for me. So food justice for me is exactly what I'm doing. You mentioned earlier my work, is culturally relevant pedagogy. And
mhm.
so part of my work is saying, hey, the recommendations, the guidelines, the curriculums, these things that we have available, they are not culturally relevant. They are not
Mm,
speaking to the people who are struggling the most when it comes to food and nutrition. And so for me, it's about having conversations, and like I said, getting these food stories and then kind of reinventing some of the guidelines, some of the recommendations, some of the curriculum, so that it is relatable. So people do see themselves
Yeah.
in these different policies and in the curriculum. They do see themselves in those things. So.
Okay. Thank you. Let's see. So Seta, she said the education around growing your own food is critical. It is a learned art, but you can grow something. Yes. All right. Ozzy, did I drink my beet juice today? No, I did not. I did have some beets over the weekend though. Brother Quasi joined us. Thank you for being here. Marcus, he hates the smell of chitterlings. Keisha talking about they better eat that food. So I think she's responding to eating all the food on your plate. And we got Chef Romance Demetrius on here. Amazing show. Thank you so much. So Keisha said, does food connect us more than for family reasons, health reasons, or medical reasons?
I would say all of the above. I mean, there's connections. I mean, there's people have different motivations for eating what they eat. And who am I to tell you what the best motivation is? What I say is let's consider all of those motivations. If it's for health reasons, let's consider it. But a lot of times people who eat certain foods for health reasons, or once their health gets to a certain place, once they've got this in control, it's not sustainable. So the goal is to create cuisine, to create food habits that are sustainable for you, things that you're going to do on a regular basis. And so for me, it's, yes, have a little bit of all of that in it. You know, you have all of the different influences, motivations when it comes to eating. So consider those. But of course, again, going back to when we want to put the health spin on it, make sure you're looking at your labs, make sure those are in order. And enjoy your food. Enjoy your food. And I also would say, and I don't want to just say enjoy food, because if you're saying, well, I enjoy all of the processed foods, okay, enjoy that. But also venture out to enjoy some of those things that we know are best for our body. When we think about, you know, especially African Americans, when we think about our ancestors, we're talking about people that initially were majority, they were vegan. So meat was a luxury. And so I would say, you know, when people say, oh, vegan, that's, you know, that's white people's food. It's not white people's food. It's the food that your ancestors thrived on. And so I think we have to go back to looking at fruits and vegetables and finding ways to be more attracted to them, you know, because depending on how they're cooked, depending on how they are cooked or not cooked or prepared, they can be just as tasty. They can, of course, they can be absolutely nourishing to your body as well. So
I think that is very spot on in terms of, you know, utilizing the food in more creative ways, right? And so we have to just switch it up a little bit. You know, you may find that when you do, you may like that particular food better. So encouraging us to get connected to the more healthy options. All right, a couple more comments and we're going to wrap it on up. But Terrell, another amazing show with great information. Thank you. Appreciate you being here, my brother. Marcus, a lot of our families have health issues that run in the family because we eat high cholesterol foods on a regular basis. Yes. So we got to change that. And then learn to enjoy real food. Changing your palate may take time, but it can be done. Absolutely. All right, Kelly. Oh my God, Miss Nicole, you are lovely and praying for continued success. Oh, thank you with these conversations. To my sister Jenelle, you never disappoint. I always learn and gain knowledge from you. I love my sisters. Love it. Thank you so much, Kelly. Appreciate you so much. Donda, she said, if we can embrace healthy eating as a way of life and not a diet, we can thrive. Agreed. All right. All hearts and minds clear. We got everything. I think we touched on everything, although I feel like there's still more, but this is just one piece of it, how and why food connects us. So I'm going to give you, my lovely friend, an opportunity to give some closing remarks and tell folks how they can connect with you.
Okay. Well, again, thank you so much, Nicole, for having me on your show. I appreciate the opportunity to serve, because I consider this serving when I'm giving this information. You can find me on IG at Dr. Jenelle Nicole. I also have a website, www.drjanellenicole.com. I do create personalized wellness plans for individuals who might be looking to make different health changes or to lose weight. So that's available. I also have a couple of online classes that are free of charge, and then those that have a small charge as well. So if you go to my website, you should be able to see those classes that are, there's a nutrition and health masterclass, and then there's a weight loss class as well. Where you can get information that might be helpful to you. So you can always just reach out to me, DM me on IG, or you can hit the contact form on my websites, and you can learn a little bit more about me from there as well. So,
thank you so much. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I hope you all benefited from this conversation. I know I did. So if you did, let us know in the comments. I see a few folks are chiming in. Said an excellent show. Thank you. Thank you so much. Ozzy, good stuff tonight. It is a continuous habit that one must discipline oneself to. Absolutely, Ozzy. Steph, she said, thank you. I appreciate you. Lindsay McFerguson, what a beautiful conversation. I've loved hearing these food stories. Yes, and we got to continue to tell our food stories and collect the food stories of our loved ones, right? And those recipes. All right, Ava Joy, good night.
Ava.
Abba Joy, excuse
Ava
me.
Joy.
Good night, and thank you. Yes, Dwight. Thanks kindly. Thank you, Dwight. Thank you, Donda. Appreciate you so much. So, for those of you who may be new to this platform, I invite you to subscribe to Conversations with Nicole. We are here Mondays and Wednesdays at 8:30 p.m. Eastern Time for about an hour, focusing on mental health and wellness in Black and Brown communities specifically. But wellness is not just mental wellness, it is also physical wellness. And tonight we talked about how and why food connects us. So let's keep this conversation going. Please share this with someone that you think will benefit from it, and come back and spend some time with us from time to time, because we have some interesting conversations. Hopefully we can get Dr. Jenelle Nicole back one day soon.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, she said yes, ma'am. All right, y'all heard her, right? She's on the record. All right, Miss Teresa, she said I've been on taking it all in. Great show. Miss Teresa is co-owner of Joe Ellen's Restaurant, the number one soul food restaurant here in Tallahassee, Florida. So thank you for being here. Sharice, always a good show. Thank you so much. And Marcus being my wing man. Like, share, and subscribe. Yes, sir. Appreciate you. All right, good people. We're going to call it a night, but we thank you for your time, and we'll see you next time. Peace.